Hello there, I'm Nadia Azmi and this is Nightline, the top stories. Government will review report on Japanese rail firms opting out of HSR project, says PM. And man held over arson attack on Bruas MP's house. Good morning. Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim on Friday said he had just received the report that Japanese companies, including East Japan Railway Company, have chosen not to participate in the Kuala Lumpur-Singapore High-Speed Rail HSR project before the Request for Information RFI deadline. The Prime Minister said he had just received the report on Friday.
We'll look at it. I just received the report today.
He said this to the media after Friday prayers at Al-Hijrah Mosque in Sepang, Selangor. The media previously reported that Malaysia and Singapore agreed to build the 350-kilometre HSR project worth 110 billion ringgit. The project is expected to shorten the travel time between the two cities to 90 minutes. The deadline for the RFI for the project, which started soliciting bids in July last year, is on Monday. Another leak has been detected along the underwater pipeline in Sungai Perai early Friday, and consumers under Stage 2 of the water recovery plan have been urged to store water for usage. This involves 495,065 consumers on Pulau Pinang Island and Seberang Perai, including non-domestic consumers in Georgetown and Bayan Lepas FTZ. The state's Water Supply Corporation, PBAPP, in a statement said its personnel were investigating the cause and location of the leak to check if it was at the same section that was repaired on Thursday. It said despite the leak, water would continue to be pumped through the pipeline for now, but it might be shut down later for emergency repair works. The second stage of water supply restoration started on Friday with optimal pumping of treated water from the Sungai Dua water treatment plant to the island in the state. It involved 495,065 consumers, or 84% of the 590,000 consumers affected in Seberang Perai and the island. Stage 1 of water supply restoration, involving 197,025 users, or 33% of the affected users in Seberang Perai, had been completed. Sungai Perai was the last location out of a total of 22 locations throughout the state that underwent ancillary works, besides the main task of replacing 2 valve units at Sungai Dua water treatment plant that left a total of 590,000 user accounts throughout Pulau Pinang affected by a scheduled water supply disruption on January 10th. However, when PBAPP shut off the water supply to allow for the valve repairs, the drop in water pressure dislodged the clamp that was installed on a leaking section of the 1.35-metre riverbed pipe in Sungai Perai that had burst on December 18th last year and took a week to repair. A more secure clamp had since been placed over a large section of the leaking pipeline before another leak was detected on Friday. And while asking Penangites to continue storing water, Chief Minister Chow Kon Yeow said a major water supply pipe in Sungai Perai that has proven to be problematic for PBAPP will be diverted above ground. Friday was the third day of the scheduled 4-day water supply disruption meant to carry out repairs. The CM said the pipe can no longer be repaired, so water will temporarily be diverted through a 900mm diameter pipe to be laid by the banks of the river and across a road bridge. Chow said the water supply process at low pressure is still distributed as notified before. He also advised users in the southwest district of the island, which spans Teluk Bahang, Balik Pulau and Bayan Lepas, to continue storing water. In Perak, police have detained a man to assist in the investigation into the recent Molotov cocktail attack at the residence of Beruas Member Parliament, Datuk Ngeh Kuham, in Taman Semarak Jaya, Air Tawar. State Police Chief Datuk Seri Muhammad Yusri Hassan Basri said that the suspect in his 30s was arrested in Shah Alam, Selangor early Friday at about 4 a.m. In a statement, Yusri said that the police also seized 2 mobile phones during the arrest. He added that checks also found the suspect has no previous criminal record. Authorities also said that the suspect has been remanded for 5 days until Tuesday for further investigation. On Thursday, it was reported that the police had recorded statements from 7 individuals in connection with the arson case. In the early Wednesday morning incident, 3 cars parked on the porch of Ng's house were damaged when a Molotov cocktail was thrown into the house compound. The case is being investigated under Section 435 of the Penal Code for mischief by fire, which carries a maximum prison sentence of 14 years and a fine if convicted. Police on Friday questioned 4 people over the so-called Dubai move, allegedly aimed at toppling the government. Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Razaruddin Hussain said the police had called in the 4 to have their statements recorded, with 145 police reports lodged on the issue. Those who were called in were Community Communications Department JCOM Deputy Director Dato Ismail Yusof, Badrul Hisham Shahirin, otherwise known as Che Gubat, blogger Wan Muhammad Azri Wan Duris, popularly known as Papa Gomo, and Muhammad Salim Iskandar. Their statements were recorded under Section 112 of the Criminal Procedure Code. Razaruddin also said police have opened an investigation paper regarding the allegations that Perikatan Nasional PN is bribing the Yang di-Pertuan Agong to bring down the government. 4 police reports have been lodged regarding the issue, where it will be investigated under Section 500 of the Penal Code and Section 233 of the Communications and Multimedia Act 1998. He added that the case is still under investigation and police advises the public not to make any speculations and comments that could interfere with the investigation process. The investigation papers will be completed and referred to the Attorney General's chambers in line with the provisions of Article 145, subsection 3 of the Federal Constitution. The Transport Ministry announced additional flight, rail and bus services for Chinese New Year next month. Its Minister, Anthony Loke Siu Fook, said it includes additional flights from Kuala Lumpur to Sabah and Sarawak by Buletin Air and additional electric train ETS trips from Kuala Lumpur to Ipoh and Padang Besar. According to Loke, his ministry also approved applications for temporary change licenses for additional buses during the festival season. He said Buletin Air also offers a fixed economy fare worth 399 ringgit for a one-way route from Kuala Lumpur to Cebu, which is only applicable for 8 flights on that route. The initiative is in addition to Air Asia's fixed fares announced last week, in addition to the additional 20 Malaysia Airlines flights from the Peninsula to Sabah and Sarawak. Meanwhile, Loke also decided to no longer organise any road safety campaign launch ceremony in each festival season to save expenditure costs, which swallows approximately 100,000 ringgit to 200,000 ringgit. He said the money can be used to improvise existing safety campaigns for the benefit of the people. However, Road Transportation Department RTD's operations are still being carried out, including law enforcement. The Attorney General Chambers AGC has rejected former Perlis Menteri Besar Datuk Sri Azlan Man's application to review his 10 corruption charges. Deputy Public Prosecutor Noralis Mat Rashida Azmi Kalai informed the Kuala Lumpur Sessions Court that the representation filed by the defence was rejected by the AGC on November 20th last year. Noralis told the court during proceedings on Friday that Azlan's representation letter was received on November 9th and had been briefed to the AGC before it was rejected. Judge Azura Alwi then set June 14th for the next case management. She also fixed a 9-day trial date for the case, which will commence on July 18th. On April 10, 2023, Azlan pleaded not guilty in the Kangar Sessions Court to 5 counts of submitting false overseas travel claims amounting to over 1.18 million ringgit between December 2013 and December 2017. 2 days later, he claimed trial in the Kuala Lumpur Sessions Court to 5 more charges of receiving proceeds from unlawful activities amounting to 1.06 million ringgit between February 2014 and December 2017.
Alba.
Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim on Friday conveyed to Germany Malaysia's stance of not recognising Israel and its condemnation of the Zionist regime's brutality in the killing of innocent Palestinians, especially women and children. Malaysia's firm position was conveyed by Anwar to German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock, who paid a courtesy call on the Prime Minister at Perdana Putra on Friday. In his social media post, Anwar said he also urged Germany, as a close ally of Israel, to exert pressure for an immediate ceasefire and to stop the bombings and violence against the Palestinian people. He also urged Germany to use its influence to allow humanitarian access. In addition, Anwar and Baerbock agreed the need to uphold the rights of women and girls to education. The Prime Minister had also conveyed his wish for more intellectual discourse sessions between Malaysia and Germany, given the differing perceptions between the East and Western nations. In the Netherlands, the United Nations Human Rights Office on Friday stressed that Israel had repeatedly failed to uphold international humanitarian law since the war erupted on October 7th. OHCHR spokesperson Elizabeth Throssell stressed that breaches of these obligations risk exposure to liability for war crimes as well as other atrocity crimes. Earlier, the Zionist regime rejected accusations by South Africa at the UN's top court, labelling them as false and grossly distorted. During the hearing's second day at the International Court of Justice, Israel argued that its military operation in Gaza was a defensive action against Hamas, not a state-led genocide campaign against Palestinians. The Zionist regime also urged ICJ to dismiss the case as groundless and reject South Africa's request to order a halt to the offensive. In the meantime, South African Justice Minister Ronald Lamola said that Israel has failed to disprove accusations of genocide brought before the ICJ by his government. He also stressed that self-defense was not the answer to genocide. The court is expected to rule later this month on possible emergency measures. In the meantime, the Zionist regime continued to intensify its bombardments in Gaza, killing at least 151 Palestinians in the last 24 hours, with 248 others left injured. According to Gaza's health ministry, a single airstrike on a house in Deir el-Balah killed 11 Palestinians, while another bombardment targeting Al-Sabra neighborhood in Gaza City claimed the lives of dozens of Palestinians. The authorities also reported that about 7,000 others were missing under the rubble and presumed dead, but are not counted as part of the official death toll. Over in the occupied West Bank, the Zionist forces caused widespread damage to the infrastructure of Nur Sham's camp after a raid that lasted for about 7 hours. To date, the death toll in Gaza has surged to 23,708 Palestinians, while more than 60,000 others are left wounded. Vietnam jails former ministers over COVID test bribes. News from the foreign front when we return.
In this brand new year, what are the new challenges that Malaysian businesses are most concerned about? In a rapidly changing global economy, what strategies should Malaysian businesses adopt to remain competitive internationally? Money Matters this week with Tan Sri So Tian Lai, President of the National Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Malaysia, at 5 p.m. this Saturday on TV3 and live HD stream on Tonton.
Projek mimpi saya.
Projek mimpi saya
Nak sambung belajar.
nak ada kilang sambal. Nak melancong.
Projek mimpi saya nak kembangkan bisnes.
Projek mimpi saya nak miliki suria.
Terima kasih atas penyertaan rakyat Malaysia dalam projek mimpi. Bermacam-macam jenis impian dan aspirasi rakyat Malaysia yang telah dikongsikan dan akhirnya kami sudah memilih seorang pemenang. Saksikan keputusan pemenang projek mimpi di semua media sosial dan laman sesawang Sirap Rimau. Projek mimpi, kongsi impian, cipta inspirasi.
Suara kita sentiasa mengiringi setiap gerak pukulan mereka. Tidak kira di kala jatuh atau berdiri. Laungan demi laungan, sorakan gemuruh peminat. Menjadi pembakar semangat. Juara yang bakal diangkat. Ayo kita satukan suara. Julangkan juara kita. dan gemilangkan lagi sukan badminton negara.
Projek mimpi saya
Projek mimpi saya
Nak sambung belajar.
nak ada kilang sambal.
nak melancong.
Projek mimpi saya nak kembangkan bisnes.
Projek mimpi saya nak menjadi suria.
Terima kasih atas penyertaan rakyat Malaysia dalam projek mimpi. Bermacam-macam jenis impian dan aspirasi rakyat Malaysia yang telah dikongsikan dan akhirnya kami sudah memilih seorang pemenang. Saksikan keputusan pemenang projek mimpi di semua media sosial dan laman sesawang Sirat Rimau. Projek Mimpi, kongsi impian, cipta inspirasi.
Welcome back onto the foreign news. A court in Vietnam jailed 2 former cabinet ministers on Friday and found dozens of officials guilty of bribery and mismanagement for their roles in a COVID test kit scandal. Its Ministry of Public Security said the former health minister Nguyen Tan Long was sentenced to 18 years in prison for taking bribes worth $2.25 million, while Chu Ngo An, former Science and Technology Minister, was jailed for 3 years for mismanagement. They were prosecuted in connection with the Viet A scandal, which was accused of colluding with officials to produce coronavirus test kits for the state health system that were sold at inflated prices. Indonesian presidential candidate Ganjar Pranowo did not rule out the option of cooperating with rival candidate Anies Baswedan if the 2024 presidential election moved into a second round. This came after the elections law stipulates that a presidential poll will go into a second round if no candidate can secure more than 50% of the votes in the first round. Ganjar and Anies have been trailing behind frontrunner Prabowo Subianto since the campaign season began in November. In a survey conducted by pollster Indicator Politik in December, Prabowo led with 46.7% of the vote in the survey, while Ganjar and Anies had 24.5% and 21% respectively. The US and British strikes against Houthi military targets in Yemen were a limited act of self-defense, and London does not immediately plan any further missions. British Armed Forces Minister James Heappey on Friday said the strikes were a proportionate response and that the government was aware of the need to avoid escalation in the region. The remarks echoed a statement by US President Joe Biden, who said the strikes were targeted and that he would not hesitate to take further action if needed. Meanwhile, the Houthis, who described the attacks as barbaric, said there was no justification for them and that the group will continue targeting ships heading towards Israel. The two countries launched strikes from the air and sea against Houthi military targets across Yemen, killing at least 5 Houthi fighters and damaging an airbase, airports and a military camp. Disappointing end to National Shuttlers campaign. Sports after this breather.
It's very scary.
Korang kena tanya kenapa cerita ni ada banyak plot twist.
Sangat menyeramkan.
Memang buatkan saya terkejut and kawan-kawan kiri kanan pun terkejut.
Filem ni banyak seram.
Boleh dikategorikan 2024 paling seram.
Amazing. Puas hati, I boleh kasih 10.
Jangan lupa saksikan Anak Perjanjian Syaitan 2, 4 Januari. Tak! Aku bukan kau! Kau setan!
Cerita Rama bulan Januari ini menyaksikan
Abang akan jaga Kia macam
rindu tidak terperi.
Cik tahu tak ada nama mak cik? Saya boleh undur diri.
Kian menyiksa diri.
Buat awak happy. Jangan risau.
Namun tetap menyayangi.
Jantung ibu tak berhenti.
Meskipun merobek hati.
Bohong. Nak menuduh anak aku lah tu.
Satu destinasi untuk semua telefilm kegemaran anda hanya di Cerita Rama TV3 dan stream sekarang melalui Tonton.
Muda hanya sekali. Masa inilah nak cari jati diri.
Kalau dah masuk UNT, jangan lupa pula.
Kau boleh dekat sini, tak sangka tu.
Sahabat masa senang ramai. Tapi ada ke yang setia?
Kau tu sahabat kita orang, kau tahu tak? Kau okey kan?
Tak tahu nak cakap dengan kau macam mana.
Cakap je lah, kita kan fellas.
Jatuh bangun bersama Hot Fellas. Khamis hingga Sabtu 9 malam. Terbaru di Lestari TV3 dan stream sekarang melalui Tonton.
We're back with sports badminton. The 2024 Malaysia Open. National men's doubles shuttlers Aaron Chia So Wo Yik and Ong Yu Sin Theo Yi Yi's hope of reaching semi-finals were dashed after crashing out in the quarters on Friday. World number 4 Aaron Wo Yik went down to South Korea's Kang Min Hyuk Seo Seong Jae. Aaron Wo Yik put up a strong start to win the first set 21-16. The South Koreans, however, bounced back to claim the next two sets 21-18, 21-13 in 1 hour and 4 minutes. Earlier, Ong and Theo were shown the exit after suffering a straight set defeat to Japanese duo. The national pair bowed to world number 7 Takuro Hoki Yugo Kobayashi 15-21, 9-21 in 34 minutes. This marks their 8th defeat against the Japanese in 10 meetings. Now on to tennis, the Adelaide International. Czech's Jiří Lehečka cruised past third-seeded Sebastian Korda on Friday to reach the final. Lehečka dominated proceedings against the American at Memorial Drive, racing through the match in just 73 minutes en route to claim a 6-2, 6-1 win as he builds towards the Australian Open. The Czech 7th seed will face Great Britain's Jack Draper in the final, who earlier downed Alexander Bublik in straight sets. In the women's semi-finals, Yelena Ostapenko defeated Russia's Ekaterina Alexandrova 6-2, 7-6, a victory that will propel her back into the top 10 for the first time in 6 years. The world number 12 will vie for the title against Daria Kasatkina, who earned a walkover win when American 2nd seed Jessica Pegula withdrew with illness. Still on tennis, the 2024 ASB Classic. Top seed Ben Shelton suffered a surprise semi-final exit after suffering a straight sets defeat to Japan's Taro Daniel on Friday. Days out from the Australian Open, world number 16 Shelton couldn't match the consistency of unseeded Daniel, who won 7-5, 7-6 to qualify for his second career ATP final. Despite the American saving 2 match points, the world number 74 Japanese converted his 3rd match point, ending the match after 2 hours and 5 minutes. In another semi-final match, Chilean qualifier Alejandro Tabilo upset 6th-seeded Arthur Fields of France 6-2, 7-5. The Chilean will battle against Japan's Daniel for the title on Saturday. When Nightline returns, mother, friend sentenced to jail for murder of baby.
Saya nak jumpa Ustaz Azlan. Boleh bagi nombor dia?
Kau tak kafar!
Money Matters is back with a new season. Your key insights into finance. Money Matters. Every Saturday, 5 p.m. Only on TV3 and stream now on Tonton.
Awak-awak, kejap. Baru pukul 9 malam. Takkan dah nak tidur? Jomlah teman saya layan. #SoKampung 7 Januari. Kembalikan sinarnya 14 Januari. Tolong jaga dia pesat 21 Januari. Adik kakak 28 Januari. Dah layan semua telefilm ni, barulah boleh mimpi indah. Pastinya di Cerita Ahad TV3 dan stream sekarang melalui Tonton.
Welcome back. A mother and her female friend were sentenced to 35 years in prison by the Kuala Lumpur High Court on Friday after being found guilty of the murder of a 23-month-old baby boy at a house in Putrajaya 5 years ago. Judge Datuk Muhammad Jamil Hussein meted out the sentence on the baby's mother, Nur Aisyah Muhammad Yunus, 40, and her housemate, Nur Aisyah Ibrahim, 37. after finding that the defence failed to raise any reasonable doubt at the end of the defence case. The court sentenced each accused to 35 years imprisonment starting from the date of arrest on November 4, 2019. According to the charge sheet, the two women who are civil servants are jointly charged with the murder of the toddler at a house in Putrajaya between the mid-September 2019 and November 4, 2019. The media previously reported that the toddler was brought by his parents to Sudang Hospital with 89 bruises, swelling and injuries all over his body. The results of the post-mortem revealed that the cause of the death was injuries to the hip and liver due to blunt force trauma. The bright pink or green frog in front of Sogo KL is a crowd favourite, but beneath the costume is a moving tale of struggle and perseverance. FMT's Athivia Ragu has the story.
If you've strolled around Sogo in Kuala Lumpur, chances are you've encountered this adorable frog mascot. But have you ever wondered who is the mystery person behind the costume? From morning to evening in blazing heat or pouring rain, this frog never fails to bring a smile to the faces of city folk. But the cheerful exterior of this cheeky character belies a story of struggle and hard work. Salman Abdullah, the 23-year-old behind Sogo's famed Frogman, recently welcomed FMT Lifestyle into his chow kit home. The middle of 3 children, this full-time mascot shares that his commitment to the job is driven by the need to support his family, particularly his disabled sister.
Saya buat ni untuk kakak saya juga, untuk bantu keluarga. Macam beli pampers susu dia apa semua, dapat duit beli je. Ada hari dapat lebih, ada hari dapat sikit. Macam satu hari dapat 40, 30, macam hujan RM15 je dapat.
Salman's 24-year-old sister was born with a host of health issues, including a damaged spinal cord, a hole in the heart, cataracts, and deafness. She relies on the support from her family. With Salman's education having ended at Standard 2, he became a Mickey Mouse mascot at age 10 while accompanying his father Johari, a busker in KL.
Mak dah biar duit tak cukup. Basking pun faham-faham lah, kadang-kadang orang layan, kadang orang lalu saja. Saya boleh mengalir air mata, tak boleh cakap apa-apa lah. Kita minta tolong pada Allah ya. Kalau boleh bantu, bantulah anak saya. Panjangkan umur setakat mana yang boleh. Kadang-kadang saya tak boleh cakap benda ni, tak boleh saya. Saya tulis. Sebab kita jaga orang dari kecil sampai besar.
Every day, Salman readies for work by packing his costume and equipment onto a trolley. After assisting his sister into her wheelchair bed, the family sets out from their home, braving the weather and road conditions on foot for at least 20 minutes to reach Sogo by 10 a.m. Once Salman dons the costume, he fully immerses himself in the character, roaming around chasing pedestrians all day long and hoping for contributions to his donation box.
Harapan pakcik kepada orang ramai, janganlah selalu memandang rendah pada orang yang cari makan di tepi jalan sebab orang mencari makan rezeki yang halal. Sekiranya suka, bantu. Tak suka, jalan.
Athivia Ragu, FMT Lifestyle for Nightline.
As we wrap up this edition of Nightline, let's take a look as a fleet of 550s hit the water for the practice session on Mina Zayed ahead of the first ever Mubadala Abu Dhabi Sail Grand Prix. With that, I'm Nadia Azmi. Thank you for tuning in and have a great weekend.